Hello, fellow travelers. Under the watchful gaze of crows perched high above, we embark on a journey etched in shadow and ink, and guided only by the trembling needle of a compass that defies reason. Take a deep breath as we unravel the unknown.
Hello fellow travelers, my name's SG and welcome to the channel. Today we're doing something a little different. Instead of doing our regular review, we're going to do a bit of something we like to call a ranking system. The first ranking system I've actually done on this channel. And to mix things up, I brought in a special guest to make this a true 500th video special. And of course, my friend who can introduce himself.
Hello everyone, my name is Kato Cronin, and welcome to SG. I'm just here for the road.
Now, the reason I chose my friend Kaito here is because he is the certified Hellboy expert. There is nothing Hellboy that he does not understand. So, with the topic at hand, I thought it best to bring him into this. Plus, he was the one that actually brought up the topic, and I was very interested in it myself. So, with all that being said, we're going to do a quick 1 to 6 ranking on all Hellboy movies, both live action and animated. And we will start with number 6, what we think is the lowest of the low, going up to number 1, which is the God tier Hellboy series that we actually do really enjoy. So, with all that being said, please like, comment, subscribe down below. We'll leave a link to Kaito's Twitch channel down below as well. So please do go support him where you can. And also, support these Hellboy movies. Let them know what's working and what doesn't. That way, we can really see demand in higher quality movies. And with all that being said, let's go on, shall we? Now, starting off with the video today, we'll do number 6. And number 6 has to be the 2019 Hellboy movie.
Yes, so 2019 Hellboy movie has to do with obviously our protagonist being Hellboy. And the whole point of the movie was basically he has to stop the end of the world, with the antagonist being Nimue, the Blood Queen of Witches. Although the whole movie was lacking in a lot of parts, the whole design of Hellboy was also very,
like,
how to
clunky.
sugarcoat it, terrible.
Yeah, it was clunky. Like, I believe the CGI and even just the look of Hellboy himself felt more like a parody rather than an actual interpretation.
I would have to agree with that, with the whole parody as well, due to him being just acting very childish most of the whole movie.
Yeah, and especially the end credit scene where, like, we see I think Lobster Johnson, right? And he acts like a fanboy rather than what we see in the other movies or in the books.
When they show Lobster, he's acting more of a, how would I explain this?
Because, like, at the same... Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I think he was kind of more like a fanboy.
Yeah, they kind of like trying to give him that Marvel sensibilities, but trying to be Hellboy at the same time. Like that.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that one.
But like the storyline itself sounds like it would be decent if they treated it seriously, but you just couldn't like take it at the end of the day.
That's true, and then as well when they show at the end of the end credits also being the introduction of Abe's.
Yeah. Like Abe Sapien himself is a very beloved character in the Hellboy fandom, right?
He is one of the best side character. Well, I would have to agree that he would be more also a main character, not just a side character, but a main character, due to him always being there for Hellboy to guide him or give him some what would be the word? Some
like assistance or some information or knowledge.
Yep, true. He's always on his back trying to help him out when when brute strength is not only used, but you also need some brains into the mission.
Yeah. So, all in all, it like 2019 Hellboy is weak in both storytelling, characterization, and CGI and effects. Is pretty much where we're coming from with this.
Yes.
Like, because I like the actor, I do, but he didn't fit this direction.
Not at all. I mean, same in the due to it, I believe they were trying to go with comic books, but as well the people that made this movie might have not even tried to read even the comic books, because Hellboy doesn't really act so childish in the not even the comics, but or in the other movies, but in this one he was very childish.
Yeah, like even in the animated movie, where you could get away with it, like, because you could say it's animated, it's meant to be more accurate. He didn't even act like that in that either.
Not at all.
Alright, so if any, that's why we had to put it at number 6, the lowest we can for the movie. Which might be shocking considering what number 5 is, which we are moving to now. At number 5, we've got Hellboy the Crooked Man. Now, this one we have a lot to say about. Not all positive. Right.
So personally, while watching the movie Hellboy, the Crooked Man, a lot of things did come up to me when I was watching it, due to one being the Hellboy design. They did improve it from the 2019 one, although the one thing that did majorly flopped had to do with the CGI and from the wardrobe of Hellboy being the stone hand, his right hand. Throughout the whole movie, we will notice that the whole hand did not move at all, did not even clench into a fist throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, that's true. It's an odd thing to throw out there, but it is a main part of Hellboy. It's like the iconic fist.
Yeah, so I mean, the whole point of the signature move or signature thing of Hellboy has to be the stone hand. And throughout the whole movie, he's fighting, he's grabbing stuff, and the only thing that you see him do most of the time is just using his normal hand, due to pretty much the whole bulky stone hand that they made for this movie. And at the end of the movie, you only see 2 fingers move, clench, being the ring finger and the middle finger.
Yeah, that is easy to notice.
Also, the CGI on the whole movie, I would have to say the beginning of the movie when the train gets derailed, and the whole spider movie, as the whole spider crawling, is also very clunky.
Yeah, that didn't really feel not to be realistic, but it was hard to believe, ultimately.
I mean, if we want to be realistic, when the train car got derailed, you would have seen the rest of the train getting derailed as well, but the whole train just continued going one single motion.
That's true. That's true.
Which, like we said, if realistically speaking, that would not even happen.
Yeah, so yeah, you're right. You do have to suspend some belief on this one. But
I would have to say the whole movie was well placed. The whole storyline was well placed in the 2019 one. And this one, the Crooked Man comic book from the whole series, the Hellboy series, has to be one of the best well-written ones. I really enjoyed it, but like I said, the whole story is great. The downside was the execution of the character and the CGI on it, the special effects on it.
Yeah, that comes down to all Hellboy properties, right? The CGI and the actor himself. That's what really brings it home. But I do remember when the Crooked Man was being released or was coming out, I remember Mike Mignola, creator of Hellboy, saying he did write it and he did have high expectations for it, which does show the writing is fine. It just needs some more tweaking, I believe. And that just comes down to the director and actor.
The directors and actors, yes, that was the only thing that was just lacking a little bit more, just a bit more effort on the actors' part, well, and the design of them.
Yeah.
But besides that, the Hellboy looked fine. His weapons, his clothing, how he acted.
But
It was all pretty much the same as in the comics, but like I said, the only thing that went down was the special effects.
yeah, because if we were really to like say it, like this was probably the first time we actually do see like a horror element in a Hellboy property, and did kind of do it okay. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it did have a lot of the horror elements in it, more of the suspense as well, and the thrill of it, trying to wonder when Hellboy will be meeting the Crooked Man or any other deities in there.
I do think that the Crooked Man should have been a little more menacing, or a little more intimidating, I think, though. That's just my point of view on that.
They could have made him a bit more intimidating, but throughout the whole movie, I feel like it was due to the budget they had and how the storyline was created. I feel like it was still like an okay design for him.
Yeah. I even do remember that like Mike Mignola likes the Crooked Man character so much he wished he would have brought him into the or he wished the first two Hellboy movies would have had the Crooked Man at the very end. You know, the one we'll talk about at the very end of this video. Coming soon. Don't want to spoil it.
Of course not. Where the fun would be in there.
Yep. But with that being said, moving on to number 4. Alright, sitting at number 4, we'll have one of the animated films, Hellboy, Sword of Storms. Now, this one is definitely going to be a complicated one, mainly because a lot of people don't even remember it. I know it took me a second to even remember what its name was. So, this is definitely an interesting one. But while I don't remember it, I remember the animation being very well done, matching the comics almost to a T.
Yeah, so on Hellboy, The Sword of Storms, it was a 2017 movie, and around that time, a lot of people, the whole hype for Hellboy had died down. But in this movie, it was really interesting in this one, we have Hellboy going to Japan due to a professor or teacher. He usually does anything with antiques, messes with some ancient scrolls, and from there he gets possessed by a Japanese demon. And from there, the whole movie is just with Hellboy trying to protect the sword of storms. That is, the sword, spoiler alert, the sword contains two demons, lightning and thunder, just like in the legends.
Yeah. I think the one thing that is really cool about this one is that it does take us to another culture. It does take us to another set of beliefs that Hellboy does have to get used to himself, but does respect ultimately. That
too, and as well, it's funny because in the movie it does show that they say that there's times that Hellboy disappears from the face of the earth. And it happens in this movie as well, because he, in a way, how would I explain it? It's kind of like he gets sent back in time, like in the, probably like Sengoku or Edo period, somewhere around there, with the samurai still going around. But in this one, you don't see a lot of samurais, but you see the Japanese folklore creatures such as kappas, the Spider Women, and other ones.
Which just makes me think that Would a Hellboy anime survive in this modern world? I think yes.
With the right directors and maybe the animation companies, they might be able to make it. And there should be a way that we could bring back the animated series, which I feel like it would be good now. It would be great on this time and era.
Yeah, because going back to like what I said about the animation for like the two movies, they are really good. Like they do have a very smooth way of doing it, while at the same time copying the imagery they choose for Magnola's original run.
I mean, I feel like it would be a great if we could get a company and with Mike Magnola's insight on the project, we could have a great Hellboy animated series.
Yeah, that's something I think a lot of fans would really enjoy. You know, with only
And even for the first person seeing for the first time Hellboy, I feel like they might actually be able to enjoy this.
yeah, that's where really like I think Sword of Storms would really come in for people, for somebody who hasn't really seen or experienced any Hellboy properties before. It would be a great introduction for it, if I had to say, because it does kind of introduce all the elements of Hellboy into as short a film as it is.
I would have to agree with that one as well.
But still, Sword of Storms, while good, does not compare to its next film that we're about to talk to you right now. Coming in at number 3, we have Hellboy Blood and Iron, the second animated Hellboy movie. And we didn't mention this before, but the original cast from the first Hellboy movies, the live actions, were actually the same voice actors. They did deliver the same kind of characters and kind of same tones they would for the regular movies. They did give this a lot of good respect. What would you say?
So, Hellboy Blood and Iron was created in the 2007, which is kinda old now, but it was really well thought out through the whole movie due to the antagonist being Ersebet Ondroshko, which was in short, a vampire trying to stay young and beautiful, but at the end she not only got defeated by the Professor Broom, but as well as the Hellboy's team. We also have an interesting part in here because it also has a second antagonist being Heket, a Greek goddess. And as well, they also call her the Queen of Witches. Yeah. Throughout the whole movie, Hellboy does show that in the whole movie, they show that Hellboy is not really the main target of the antagonist, but the professor. And Heket is trying to convince Hellboy to abandon his teams and join her, but we all know how that ends up with Hellboy putting that stone hand on their face by a lot of punching.
Yep, that's the one. That's like the rebuttal Hellboy likes to use.
Yeah, even though he has a good sidearm, he still prefers to go up and personal.
Yeah, and just like with the Sword of Storms, the animation in this is very well done as well. But I do have to say this one's a little better, mainly due to the dark shadows and the use of kind of crooked areas, if you will. Does that make sense?
Makes sense because, I mean, old school animation, I mean, I would have to say old school, not newer days, because they did know how to use the, like you said, the shadows, the angles and all that to make a great animated movie such as this one.
And like anybody who's read or Mike Mignola or seen him knows that he loves using angles and shadows and darkness to the advantage of Hellboy or any of his works, really.
And plus, I believe Guillermo del Toro was also in this movie as well.
Yeah, that's actually what I was going to talk about right now. Many people believe that Blood and Iron, at least, and maybe even Sword of Storms, are part of the Guillermo del Toro's version of Hellboy. Like, I can see it because, like I said, a lot of the same voice actors make appearances in it, and he did have a small part in it. But what would you say about that?
I mean, Guillermo del Toro has been one of the greatest horror movie directors, and I have to say, with his assistance in this movie, I mean, I feel like the whole horror, well, not really horror, but suspense, was well put into this movie.
Yeah, I would say that too. He did bring his own element to it, and gave it a different vibe than we've seen in other animated movies based on like comic books or anything like that. But then again, when you come into a Hellboy movie, you don't really know what to expect from it. I would have to say that would be the best scenario.
Yes, I would have to agree on that due to, I mean, how do I explain this? The whole Hellboy animation was great. The Guillermo del Toro and Mike Mignola working in with the other movies, and they just brought up this comic character into life with this movie.
Yeah. But as we said with the anime movies, that while they are definitely the better movies than the newer ones, it can't match to the live action movies, which we're about to talk to now, and you'd be surprised what we consider number 2. Alright, this one may came to a shock to a lot of you, but number 2 would definitely have to be the first Hellboy movie ever made, starring Ron Perlman, as we said, directed by Guillermo del Toro, and written by Mike Mignola.
Yes, so in 2004, the original Hellboy movie came out, and it was the introduction of the Dark Horse character known as Hellboy, bringing it into the big screen in live action, which fans became drowning the theaters to just watch this character come to life. We have his antagonist being Rasputin, Carl Cronin, and Ilsa, being all of them being from the German parties in the World War II, being the Nazis, which it's interesting how they lived that long to be in the modern era.
Yeah, we're not going to sugarcoat that, mainly because that's just the story. We can't really fight that element. But it's true, there is a definite time loop, if you will, or a time lapse for Hellboy, and maybe we'll cover that later in the future. Like, I do know you have some things to say about the timeline itself, but we're going to say that for another time.
Yes, I do. As a big Hellboy fan, I made my own little theories on him and his team and all that stuff.
Yeah, but that would take too long in this video. Get to 600, yes. We'll talk about it then.
Maybe. So, in the whole movie, it was, well, how would I explain this? It was interesting how we brought Hellboy from a comic book that a lot of people didn't know about, and then just bring it into a live action movie. And tickets were selling everywhere. You would, when he came out, the whole movie came out.
Yeah, because unlike Iron Man, Superman, or like Captain America or Batman, Hellboy didn't have that big of a push from the comic book companies. He was more of the darker aspect. He was the anti-hero before anti-heroes were even a thing yet. So for Hellboy itself to become as big as it did was different, and a welcome different, if you will.
Yes, so Hellboy in this one, they brought in the more obscure side of things, such as the paranormal stuff and all that. And they created a character that is shown that he usually tries to. They do everything in the shadows and try to protect people from the things that hide in the shadows.
And like we do get like a lot of Hellboy's main cast from the books making appearances in this, and definitely using Guillermo del Toro's eye for like makeup and creature features, if you will, does come into light in this, and does offer a good look at them too.
Yeah, I mean, we see how the design of Hellboy first appeared, and I have to say, with the whole design, his build, the CGI in that time for his, like I said, the stone hand, his very signature part of him, was well made, and you could see how they put a lot of effort to make it look like it's actually part of him.
Yeah, it does go like above and beyond to just like even the smallest details are given highlights in this movie. Like you said, the stone fist, but the storyline itself is very well done as well.
Yes, because we do see him being it was straight and forward. You had your protagonist being Hellboy and his teammates, and well, actually, the movie itself, it's actually being told by a new recruit, his name being John Myers. How it is he was from the FBI and joins the Bureau of Paranormal Research and Defense. And there he meets Hellboy. From there we see he sees how Hellboy has to deal with this paranormal stuff and trying to fit into society, but he still has to hide in the shadows. From there we have him his character develops through the movies, how first Hellboy didn't really acknowledge him as part of his team, and at the end he fully embraces that he is part of this team. And we see how Hellboy, their talk about him, how the whole point of this was Rasputin in 1945 was trying to bring a god of chaos to the world, but failed due to the American soldiers just stopping the whole project or the whole process of the portal, and returns to try to finish his duty and is stopped by Hellboy once again.
Yeah, it's a good storyline, and like while it does seem very like straightforward, it did have a lot of twists and turns to it, and there's interesting elements throughout. So like the idea of it being like from another person's perspective of this was very interesting to go on.
I mean, besides that, I feel like this movie was one of the greatest movies, but it is still not a number one for me.
No, it is not the number one, and to no one's surprise, number one's coming up right now. Alright, and finally, with number one, Hellboy, The Golden Army. Now, naturally, this one was a cinematic masterpiece just visually, I would have to say.
I would have to agree. Not only was we brought back the original actors from the first one, but we introduced the much darker side. They talk about the Dark Ages, with the antagonist being Prince Nuada, a wooden elf. How he pretty much just wants to take over the world because he thinks humans are inferior.
Yeah, that was pretty much the main element of the story, right?
Yes, that was the main story. And then he was trying to bring assemble the golden crown that would give him the ability of controlling the Golden Army, a indestructible and unstoppable army.
And Hellboy, being already the king of the Britons, is already keen to leading an army himself.
Well, not only a king of what's it called, of England, but also technically speaking, a king of hell himself.
Like, the one thing I will say that the Golden Army, like, I wish there was a third one. Mainly because it felt like there should have been a closing movie. You know what I mean?
I feel they could have maybe made a part 2 of the Golden Army, but due to decreasing of the Hellboy stuff going on, they really never really got to the second part or a third movie of Hellboy with the live action actors.
Yeah. But like I said before, like, I think the one thing that Hellboy Golden Army did have, like, multitude of was visuals. Like, just the look of the Golden Army itself was something to see. Like, you felt the impact or the expansion of it all. You know what I mean?
And it also got you on your. It made you get on your seat, the edge of your seat, when you see the Golden Army what's the word? Reactivating. So you see at first, it's like, oh, they're just huge spheres, golden spheres, but then you start seeing them waking up, and you see these giant mechanical,
like,
what would be the word?
Like automatons kind of thing.
Yeah, automatons, and they're just ready for combat. And the moment that the Prince Nuada gives the order for attack, you see them, like they said, they just follow orders, and they were ruthless, and they immediately went for the kill. But Hellboy, being Hellboy, he took a stand and pretty much not really defeated them, just slowed them down enough for him to make a plan to stop Prince Nuada and the army.
Yeah, this is definitely, like, one that does match its storyline with its visuals, I would have to say. Like, nothing in this has gone to waste. There's definitely a lot of heart in it. There's definitely a lot of purpose into it. Like, it does feel like... It feels good. Like, if it ended there, like we said, which it kind of did, it was an okay ending, overall.
I would have to say the ending they could have done... Yes, the ending they could have done a little bit more memorable, but due to the time, it just felt right for that moment.
Like, because I do remember Guillermo del Toro and even, like, Mike Mignola said that there was supposed to be a third movie, and, like, it was supposed to go right after the Golden Army, at least by maybe 5-10 years, and it was going to be revealed that the Crooked Man was going to make an appearance as kind of like the Thanos, like he was the one pulling the strings kind of situation.
I have heard of that, and I mean, throughout the whole comics, it is the Crooked Man, the one that does a lot of these pulling the strings that Hellboy has to deal with all the paranormal stuff that he has to deal with. And it would have made sense if we did have that third movie with having a sneak peek of the Crooked Man being the one that's moving, doing all these things, all these trials that Hellboy has to go through.
But still, overall, the first two Hellboy movies will go down in history as some of the greatest comic movies ever made. Mainly because the storylines were good, the characters were relatable, and you do want to see more ultimately. And it did make a lot of people want to revisit the comics and would want to see more down the line.
Exactly. That, I mean, personally, like I said, I have been a huge Hellboy fan since the beginning. I saw the movie. From there, I started reading the comics. Second movie came out, watched it. Animated movies came out. watched all those movies, and then time passed. 2019 one came out, watched it, and I was greatly disappointed. And then from there, the 2024 one came out with the Crooked Man, and I was like, boy, this has to be. They have to redeem themselves from the 2019 one, which technically they did redeem themselves, but not too much.
Just barely.
Just barely.
But that all comes down to that Hellboy is when you do an adaptation right, when the actual viewers want to know more about these characters, can relate to the characters, and do enjoy them. That's how you know when an adaptation does it good. Especially for something.
Agreed.
Especially as something as unique and as different as Hellboy compared to like Superman or Batman.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to agree with that. I mean, there is previously in the number 2 we do have the 2004 Hellboy. There is a nice little Easter egg in that movie.
Oh yeah, what is it? Oh, I know.
So before that movie, I believe. Do you remember the movie with Keanu Reeves being John Constantine, or the movie is called Constantine?
Yeah, I remember that one.
So the Easter egg in the movie is that the BPRD do have the spearhead from the movie.
That's actually a really cool Easter egg.
It's a really, you might miss it. It's only there for a couple seconds, but the professor does I believe the professor does talk about it, about the spear that does make the wielder invulnerable, like in the movie it did with that one side character being hit by a truck and nothing happening to him. That's a nice little Easter egg from that movie.
Yeah, that's a good one. Like that is funny because that just shows a weird connection to like the comic book still.
I mean, we do have the little fun times that Hellboy does interact with DC characters, so it would make sense with John Constantine being a paranormal character from the DC, and Hellboy, which is another comic book character, having a little clash with each other.
Yeah, that's something we don't really see too much of, crossovers with Hellboy, which I would like to see later on in the future.
Hopefully we do get some.
Yeah. But with that being said, let's on to our final statements. Alright, with all that being said, the Hellboy series has definitely been one that's had its ups and downs, like any franchise really. But when you look at the ups, they are definitely outweighing the downs. Would you have to agree with that?
Well, I do partially. The only one, like I said, that I would say that has the more downs would have to be the 2019 one.
Naturally.
Naturally.
Yeah, but for the most part, I would have to say that if we were to go back to the Hellboy, what it should be and how it should be presented, Guillermo del Toro's run is hands down the best way to look at it.
Yes, so if we ever do get another Hellboy movie, it will have to be with both of the OGs being Guillermo del Toro and Mike Mignola.
And of course, our main Hellboy actor as well, Rob Perlman.
That is true. He was one of the best.
Like he even says he wants to,
Hellboys.
Like he even says he wants to come back for another one because he's up for it. He said he's no matter what.
I mean, if he's back, I would probably even pre-order those tickets to just watch it for the premiere.
Yep. Well, thanks again, Kaito, for coming in. I hope that you had a good time and that you enjoyed talking about Hellboy a little bit.
Well, it's my pleasure. I mean, anytime that you want to talk about Hellboy, I'll be there.
Nice, because we will need our expert if we are going to talk about it. And I hope.
Oh.
Huh?
Oh, no. I was like, okay.
Any final words to the audience?
I mean, probably the only thing is, if you guys are really down for knowing more, or probably getting into Hellboy, probably start first with the, like we said, the sort of stories that will give you like an idea on Hellboy. From there, go read some comics, watch the rest of the movies, and maybe in the comments, give your ideas or your opinions on them.
Yeah, because we would definitely like to hear what people have to say about the Hellboy franchise itself. Like, do you think we're off? Do you think we're too harsh on the 2019 or Crooked Man? Like, no answers are wrong here. We certainly believe there are certain correct answers, but overall, nothing wrong.
Exactly. There's nothing wrong with listening to other people's opinions, or even talk about them.
So, with all that being said, thanks again for watching. Please support Kaito's Twitch channel. I'll leave it down below if he's okay with it, that is.
I'm okay with it. Just a quick heads up. I took a long break on it, but I am thinking of going back to it once again.
Yep. But with all that being said, thanks again for watching, and I hope you all have a great day. And I hope to see you guys again next time. Have a great one.